Hey guys, I've had several of you ask how we would go about constructing confidence intervals when we have when we have a data set given to us. We might do that for either a population mean or for a population standard deviation. So let's go through those steps. We'll look at an example here really quick where we'll do actually both of them, find a confidence interval for a mean and for a standard deviation when given the data sample, the sample data. All right, so for a confidence interval for a mean, when we either know the value of sigma, so when that value is known, or when that value is unknown, we really go through more or less the same process here. We check that these requirements are satisfied. We identify the confidence level. So here's the thing that might be different. So we look to see, is it possible, is it given the population standard deviation? Do we know that? If we know that, then we will make note of that. And if we don't, not a big deal. We copy that data into column 1 in StatDisk. I say column 1, you can copy it to any column you would like. I just tend to go column 1, try to keep my data set clean unless I have multiple columns of data that I want to mess with. We choose analysis, confidence intervals, and then mean one sample. Once we get there, once we have chosen that, there is written in blue an option to go through and use the data. And so if we click on that, then we don't have to input nearly as much information. We just need to input the location of the data, the confidence level, and then other information. If we have it, we would input that population standard deviation. And so that's it. And we evaluate, and it would spit back the information for us. If we wanted to do this to find a confidence interval for a standard deviation, more or less the same thing. We're going to put that information into column 1. Again, it can go into whatever column you want, and you just need to identify, you'll select that use data and identify the location of that data and the confidence level. All right, so let's take a look at an example. So here we have a random sample of 20 states found that the number of confirmed coronavirus cases shown below. So the number of COVID-19 cases. This came from information on the CDC's website today, April 15th of 2020. And so this is just 20 of the 50 states. Yeah. And so we're going to use this data, and we are going to find a 90% confidence interval for the mean. So our confidence level here is 0.90. We have that data that's given to us. We don't have a population standard deviation that is given or assumed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this data right here, and I'm going to copy that over to StatDisk. I've actually already written that over there, so when we get there, you'll already find it there. But I would put that all in column 1 of StatDisk. So here I am in StatDisk. It has all of those 20 values written there, right? So all 20 of those data values, they've been copied there. We want to find a confidence interval for a mean, so I'm going to choose analysis, confidence intervals, and then a mean for one sample. And so right up here, I'm going to choose that use data spot, right? So I'm going to press that. I'm not using the summary statistics, I'm using the data. And now that I'm using the data, I only have a couple things to input. I just need to input my confidence level, which is 90%. And the column that contains my data is column 1. And in this problem, the population standard deviation was not given, so I evaluate that. And we get a mean from 3,293 to 38,455. So 3,293 to 3,293 up to 38,455. If we're rounding to the nearest whole number, it would be 38,456. And that would be the confidence interval. That's how we'd roll through that. If we had the same general idea, we want to find a 90% confidence interval for the mean, only this time the standard deviation is assumed to be 29,500. Then we can go back and we just enter that additional information in. So let's go back to StatDisk. So again, I would choose analysis. We're trying to do a confidence interval. In order to estimate a mean, we just have the one sample. We are going to use the data. We're doing a 90% confidence interval. Our data is contained in column 1. And we had a 29,500 for an estimate of the population standard deviation. And when we evaluate that, now we get 10,025. Did I say 10,000? I think maybe I meant 1,025. Let's go back and look. No, I did mean 10,000. 10,025 to 31,725. So that is our confidence interval. Notice that when we have that information about the standard deviation, our confidence interval, it got much narrower, right? And so we have, more confidence about what the true value of the mean might be. For this data set, when we look at all 50 states, I calculated this from the data for all 50 states. That mean, the real mean is 12,044. That is the real mean. And so it lives in both of those intervals, which is good. If we wanted to find a 90% confidence interval for the standard deviation, our confidence level is 0.90. Again, I go to StatDisk. Over in StatDisk, I'm going to choose analysis. I'm going to choose confidence intervals. I'm going to choose standard deviation one sample. Here again, I'm going to choose that blue use data option. And so our confidence level is 0.90. I have already input the data into column 1. And so I evaluate this. And as an output, we get 36,100, 36,101. As our lower confidence level limit. And then our upper value for the confidence level is 62,314. 62,314. And so that's what we have there. The actual standard deviation here for among all states was 29,549.73. So that's a little outside this range. So confidence intervals don't always actually contain it. Also, what could be happening here is I've made the assumption that the number of COVID-19 cases, coronavirus cases, among all states, the number of cases was normally distributed. That's probably not a reasonable expectation based on differences in state populations. So when that's not the case, that is a requirement when we do a confidence interval about standard deviations. So that's probably what's happening here. All right, but that's how we would use a data set to in StatDisk when we're trying to construct some confidence intervals. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.